Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Bible study. Today, we are going to study a short study about alabaster jar. And we are going to find out what is an alabaster jar and what it was all about in the Bible. Let's dive in. So we are in Mark 14, verse 3. While which is Jesus, while he was in Bethany, reclining at the table in the home of Simon the leper. So let's pause for a moment. Simon the leper. So one point, that person Simon, as a Simon is appears like Simon that was his name was changed to Peter, and there like several times in the Bible is mentioned this name. It was common. But this one time was a leper and was healed by Jesus. Now, passing by, he was invited to his house and he was reclining at the table. Probably has maybe he's this with his disciples, and maybe there were more. Maybe Simon's family was there or friends. So there were more people at that table. And we go back to the scripture. A woman came with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume made of pure nard. So a woman came from nowhere with this alabaster jar. Everybody knew that time what that meant and what it was. She broke the jar and poured the perfume on his head, on Jesus' head. So, all right, so this alabaster jar, it is an oil made of nard, which it's more, nard is kind of simplified for people to understand what it means, but it's a spike nard. And it is made from a flower that grows in Himalaya between the rocks. It's a short, small flower, which is very, very rare to find, to go on the top around the mountains there to find a little flower that grows in certain places between the rock, those big rocks, to find a little flower. It's, I say, even it's dangerous to go there and to find it, to bring it, and also to make this oil. It's more like essential oil, to make like more like a perfume out of it. From that flower smells so nice. And because of a rarity of this flower and where you can find it, for that reason this perfume is expensive. Now, people in that time, they didn't have like bank like they have it right now. It was in the time of Jesus. So whenever they had gathered the money for, I would say, for retirement money, instead of putting in a 401k or 403a, whatever it's called, instead of putting in your retirement money, they would buy this perfume and put it in the jar. And they were buying a little bit at the time because it's so expensive. So they buy a little bit, put it there. It's that those were their saving accounts, retirement money, saving accounts. So when they will get to retire, they will get that perfume and sell it probably a little bit at a time, and have hold the rest of their life to live from it. So there were like pretty much, I would say, saving accounts, retirement plan, whenever is, where the money will go. And when that jar will be filled up, and it's a small jar, looks like in the picture is a small jar, but as I say, every little drop counts and is very expensive. So as you go with years and years and years, that jar fills up, and there is at the few you put you seal it with a lid, and in order to open it, that she like we go to the end of that verse, she broke the jar and poured the perfume on Jesus' head. So she had to break the jar because it's sealed, that nobody can go and get a little bit out of it. It's all sealed. And that was sealed because in the time what they needed in the, just say in the future when they get retired, then they will get that, they have to break that and get the perfume out and sell it. So it could be an expression like broke the jar, like could be just opening this, like will be sealed and open. But um, it was like even a drop, a very, very expensive. I'm not sure the perfumes these days, how expensive could be, but we can, what is this? We can look into, like perfumes. Um, I would say like essential oil could be like frankincense, yes, am I saying right? Um, that's expensive as well, but this is the most expensive. And not just that, this has a very unique smell. Okay. All right, here we found the spikenard among those rocks, somewhere in the wilderness. In order to climb up there, says you can risk your life and gather them and make oil out of them. Next, so we are in Luke 7, verse 37. A woman in that town who lived a sinful life learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house. So she came there with an alabaster jar of perfume. Wow. Now, since it says who she was, with a sinful, she lived a sinful life, and assuming she was a prostitute in that town, and she came with the alabaster jar of perfume, where imagine that Jesus was eating with a Pharisee, that the teachers from that time, that they knew the Torah so well, and were, like, I'm just trying to picture that the table they were, and all these like high educated people from the Torah, like to say like you are with the pastor of the church, and all of a sudden a woman who everybody knew who she was, a prostitute, comes in with an alabaster jar of perfume, like with something very expensive perfume in her hand. And everybody knew what it was, because when everybody was carrying that, they knew that was an expensive perfume. I'm just trying to picture like it would be like the Pharisees, like, who is this woman? Why she's doing in my house, or what she's doing around here? What is, you know, it's it's they think that she's a dangerous woman, she's sinful. What she's doing actually when these people from the synagogue are there. And also Jesus was considered a teacher. Verse 38, as she stood behind him, like behind Jesus, at his feet, weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears. Then she wiped them with her hair, kissed them, and poured perfume on them. So her gesture, it tells that she knew that she was a sinful woman, but Jesus deserved more than just talking at the table and feed him. She knew Jesus would not come if she would invite him over. She had to come in a different way, and bowing down to Jesus' feet, just his presence made her weep like she was crying. He Jesus' presence, it's it discovered that she was a sinful woman. She knew who she was, but in Jesus' presence, she felt as she's crying. It's like when people are crying, usually they know they're guilty. That's why they're crying. They know what they did, and he was the one who forgives the sins. So she came in the right place. She began to wet his feet with her tears, like all the tears, like crying. She wouldn't let go. Jesus' feet, crying and wiping his Jesus' feet with her hair. Because in that time, every woman had long hair. As no matter who they were, they had long hair. They were dressed like Jewish women and they had the long hair. So kiss Jesus' feet and pour perfume on them. Now, back to the alabaster jar. She had her work was a sinful work. She was a prostitute. And all the money that she was making out of it, she put like everybody else. They work like maybe in the market, selling things, their maybe vegetables or whatever, maybe I don't know. I'm just saying like selling just like cinnamon, like those specific, selling almonds, because they have almond street, selling oil, olive oil, or whatever, that they make and sell those in the market. She didn't have nothing to sell. She was selling her body for money, and that's why it's considered sinful life. And making money that way, she saves those money she made, bought the spikenard oil and pour it in her jar. But when she discovered Jesus, she did that gesture that um, it's um, pretty much like when she poured a perfume, that it meant a lot for her. But since she broke that, it looks like a broken jar right there. I think they probably when they buy, they give you already sealed. It looks like it was broken and poured on Jesus' feet. That was all her work, and it tells us in the story that I know I'm a sinful woman, and she's crying. She knew it, who she was, and that all that work and I did, and this is I wanna break it all off me. All the money I work and I put it in here, I don't need it. I have Jesus, who is the one who forgives my sin, and I don't need to do all that work anymore. And that's it's also is telling you that breaking that and putting on Jesus' feet, like everything is gone. I don't care about money, and I don't care what it was. I'm forgiven now. It's a very specific, you know. It's just adoration. It's more like worshiping Jesus at her level, because as a sinful woman, she wouldn't make go to the synagogue, for example, worshiping God and reading the Torah, like a part like from the Old Testament, the Torah, specific books of Torah they were studying. He will not go there because nobody will actually let her get in there, and she could not go there, and she would be probably the one who needed to go there. but because of the shame and what she was doing, this was the way of worshiping, praising Jesus. That was her way of worshiping Jesus. And I said, she did more than just that. But after that kissing, those tears, at the end of it, she went home forgiven. And she didn't have to work that dirty job anymore. Let's go to the next part. John, so we found about alabaster jar in John 12, verse 1 to 3. Mary anoints Jesus at Bethany. So we are verse 1. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus therefore came to Bethany where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. So they gave a dinner for him there. Martha served, and Lazarus, that was resurrected, was one of those reclining with Jesus, with him at the table. So they were like at the table talking, and Mary, last time, Mary was at Jesus' feet, listening what he was saying, and Martha was working. And now, when Jesus came again, so verse 3, Mary therefore took a pound, that's a lot, that's a lot, of expensive ointment made from pure nard. So you have to identify which one is pure, which one is fake, which one is, organic, I would say, or whenever, like probably for sure they were like washed out once, so that it would not be so expensive for people that they want to have the perfume but didn't want to pay so much. So probably they washed out once. They were like processing maybe the second time the same flour, and it doesn't come the oil that much out of it. Maybe combined with other oils, but it says specified. Mary therefore took a pound of expensive ointment made from pure nard and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. So she could do, she could have maybe something else to wipe Jesus' feet. But just think about, so that oil was used in two ways. Anointed feet of Jesus because he deserved more than that. And also the smell from Jesus' feet, also her hair, and the smell of the oil got in her hair. Wow. I'm just thinking. I'm just trying to grow my hair, guys. I don't know how. But at this point, I want it so bad to grow my hair, just to know that at this point, I can wash Jesus' feet and I can wipe it. I can wipe them with my hair. It's long enough. And I'm just so proud of that because I had a hard time growing my hair, but now it just grew without even thinking of it. I'm just thinking like I want to do that, but as this specific as this specific subject came today, and it keep coming to my mind, alabaster jar. And then I says, what about it, Jesus? What about it? And so Jesus say, your alabaster jar could be your children. What you have more precious? What you have more precious in your house? Some people in that time they had, I say, pretty much their retirement money put in the oil, expensive oil. But what do you have more precious? Some people, they may have their house. Some people, they have their children. Some people, they have their husband. Some people, they have their family, their mom, their dad. What is more expensive? What is more not expensive? I would say more precious that you have. God is asking you today what you have in with you, what is in your house or with you that you have value, that you treasure. What do you have? And so God was challenging me today. He asked, that alabaster jar could be, I say, could be your house, could be your retirement, could be your car. It might be expensive. I don't know what you put your heart into it, what you have, what's in your heart, what you value so much right now at this moment, this time. And then I say, I don't know, Lord. It could be that I do love my children, and God told me, bring it at my feet. As those lady got, whenever they had expensive and valuable, they pour it at Jesus' feet. There was the first one, it was poured on Jesus' head. And it says, bring it to my feet and leave them there with me. So, what we are going to do, I say, my children are yours. You give it to me. It's a gift from God. I'm just pretty much guide them through their life. I'm more like a teacher for them, guide them through their life, and even they make mistakes, I try to guide them back on the right path where Jesus wants them to go, and show them the right from wrong. And if they do mistakes, teach them to learn from their mistakes, and guide them through. But today, as God instructed me, what is more valuable, and I say, I might have other things valuable, but bring what is more valuable at Jesus' feet. Let Him take care of those valuable things. And don't carry, like I'll say, don't put your heart too much into those things, because these are the gifts. Even the children are the gifts from God. Put them to His feet. Everything that you have, and everything that God gave it to you, and you think is valuable, He wants you to put it at His feet today. And it's what I was doing today. I left it, my children. I was worried about, sometimes I worry about my children, like the one or the other one. And Jesus said, you know what? Your child first, your children first are mine. And I was thinking for a moment, and I say, wow, you're right. And I say, second is yours. First, those kids are mine. And then, second, those kids are yours. And I thought, God is right. God is always right. Those children that He gave it to me, first, they're His. And why should I worry? So today we leave everything that you have valuable at Jesus' feet, like that alabaster jar. And it says, the last verse, the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. Let God make that fragrance of the perfume. Let God teach them, His way, that a perfume comes from that teaching, from getting them the right way, put them in the right path, and let that bring a perfume up to heaven. Let them, you'll be a guidance, of course, but let God, the power of God guide them and teach them how to go, where to go, what to do as you bring them and help them save their soul with Jesus. As they are saved, you did your part. Instruct them that Jesus saves. He saves even a sinner like the picture before we have the lady that was crying to Jesus' feet, the prostitute. He saved a prostitute. You can save your children from where they are, your family from where they are. Leave it to Jesus. So that was the message that I got. And I wish I would have just maybe a drop of that perfume just to see like what is that smell so valuable, so so unique. And um, Jesus deserves it. Deserves more than that perfume, more than those oils. And here we are. We start to remain at Jesus' feet and in our like be humble as teaching you a valuable lesson of being humble and just that um, Jesus' presence makes you weep, forget about your worries, forget about your problems, and put everything at His feet, no matter what it is. And probably the more valuable that you have, put it in His hands. At His feet is more things that where could be more safe than with Jesus. And as your children and your family get saved, they're in God's hands. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoy it. I hope you got the message that God put in my heart today that was for me. And we always have some kind of alabaster jar, and we use it for God's purpose. And till next time, I say goodbye. Goodbye now.